there now any plans for Whitesnake for a close future, or not yet, and you will just see what's gonna happen?
Yeah, just seeing what's going to happen. You know, it's obvious. That's always up to David, and any news would come from David, of course. You know, so but yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm definitely down to work with David with whatever his vision is for the future of the band.
And the last question of Whitesnake, because we a little bit forgot the Purple album, which was your first one you recorded with Whitesnake, am I right? And so how was the recording process? Is that like the analog, or are they analog kind of guys with, you know, the old way of recording, or was it everything like a digital Pro Tools kind of stuff? And or what amps you used, or which guitars, for example, because I think this video is going to be watched also by musicians. So could you tell us something about your gear, which you, for example, used on Whitesnake albums, both of them?
Yeah, well, I mean, David loves Les Pauls, and Reb is more of like the Sir Floyd Rose guitar style, you know. So it was a natural fit with that, because I'm definitely a Les Paul guy at this point in time. That's my main. I find it hard to really love anything else, to be honest. Everything else I go to, I play for little things here or there, like a Strat or a Tele or like a Floyd Rose guitar. But like when it comes to being happy, it's a Les Paul for me all the way, you know. Mm-hmm. And so in that regard, is a natural fit. The recording the Purple album was interesting because like Reb had done a lot of like the main guitar part already. So it was like, well, do I create an overdub? Do I just double him? So I actually did a lot more of like kind of writing of additional parts, like overdubs. And we were doing a thing that was lighter on keyboards than, you know, the Deep Purple recording. So no, I think the whole intention really was to remake them, not to like re-record them note for note. So I think David wanted to do like what Whitesnake's spin would be on those songs, you know, rather than re-record them like just like Purple did. What would be the point, you know? So it was a cool way to join the band because everything was ready to go, you know. They had already started working on the album, so it was like, join the band, and it's like, hey, we want you to record on this album. We're going to go on tour. Okay, cool. So let's do it, you know. So that was a great way to get in, and it was good for me to go back and kind of revisit everything Ritchie Blackmore, Tommy Bolin had played, and have it in my back pocket if David wanted it, you know. And then also spend a lot of time experimenting with it and trying different things, and so did my best to try and, you know, have a bunch of options for him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so how was your experience with Cher? What was it for you to play, you know, these stuff at the Super Bowl, as I read? And so how is the experience, or what's the story?
I think you're thinking of maybe Nuno with Rihanna with the Super Bowl. But with Cher, what we did was in Las Vegas, I went in to fill in for her guitarist Dave Barry, who plays on a television show here in the States called The Voice. And so Dave ended up getting more and more busy with The Voice, and I ended up doing more of it than I thought I was going to do. I really was supposed to be just a couple shows, and then it ended up being a few years, really, of doing the Vegas residency and then also going on tour because that Mamma Mia 2, or Mamma Mia 2, I think, movie came out, and so she wanted to go out and do a tour. And so we're doing arenas and big crowds, and did, you know, a bunch of the U.S. And I made what I could during that year. Things were starting to get complicated because I was touring with Whitesnake and touring with TSO, and had Cher touring too. So it was very stressful trying to have everybody not be mad at me, like, you know. So, you know, that in the end with that, I was just only able to make that final year about half of her shows, and that was difficult because, you know, you want everybody to feel like you appreciate it, because you do, but it's very difficult in terms of, you know, when you have three major acts. TSO is a very big act here in the U.S. I know you guys don't really get it over there, but like that tour in November and December is really intense here in the U.S. and big, and so. You know, doing all three of those things for that few years was challenging.
Yeah, I know Zach Stevens quite well because we were on tour with his former band Circle to Circle here in Europe, and then we made the duet song together as well with Zach. So we are kind of not that close anymore, but it was 10 years ago or 11 years ago, and it was great. He's a great guy. And also you got Gabriela Gunčíková. Gabi Gunčíková. I don't know if you know her.
Gabi's not with TSO anymore, but she was, and she's awesome. You know, Gabi's a great singer.
Great vocalist, yeah. And so when you play with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, is it different on stage? Do you have to do like some special movements, or is it more like a theatrical stuff for you as a musician as well, or are you free on stage? Can you do?
I mean, you're free, but it's sort of like it's a really wide stage, so they like to have somebody in each area at all times, so the audience doesn't tune out, you know. So we have it sort of choreographed that, hey, during this section I'll go to here and you go to here and you be center when you play that lead. And you know, it's kind of common sense stuff. If you're playing the melody or the lead part, you go to the center of the stage usually, and everybody else kind of balances it out. The guitars, you try and stay symmetrical. So if Chris Caffrey's over here, I'm trying to be over here, while we have the bass player and the string player here, and we try to figure out a way of, you know, that kind of stuff is structured, but what you do when you get there is usually not structured. That's usually up to you. Yeah.
And are there any plans for going to Europe with this project? Because I think, it's not that popular here, maybe like it is in America, but I think there are so many fans here. And now with the new lineup, because I see some videos with Russell Allen, who's amazing, I love his voice. So I think it would be also interesting to see you here. So are there any plans for that, or not yet?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, that'd be a question for management. I know there's been some European touring before, so you know, it'd be great. I don't know necessarily that I'd be a part of it. We have in the U.S. here, just for those in Europe that don't quite understand the dynamic, you know, you had that group come together essentially as Savatage, right? And then due to the popularity and needing to play the entire U.S. in such a short amount of time, is basically two touring groups. So we work together to put the show together, but then we have two touring groups out at the same time here in the U.S. to do it. So likely if it went to Europe and it was on its own, it would probably be the Savatage guys. So it'd probably be Al Petrelli and Chris Caffrey doing the guitar work if it happened in Europe. But you never know. Maybe they'll take me along as a third wheel.
Okay. Because as we mentioned, you know, you cooperated already with so many huge acts on the rock scene. Is there anyone that you still dream of cooperation with, him or her? Do you have any like dreams in this case?
Not necessarily. I've kind of learned that the key is like you just work hard and try and do the best you can at every turn, and you kind of never realize where life is going to take you. My prime examples with that would be the Broadway thing that we talked about. So my line is, when I was 11 years old playing Black Sabbath, I was never thinking someday I'm going to be on Broadway, you know, but Rock of Ages was something that really changed my whole life. I mean, I went from being a guitarist, so like very little money at the beginning of that and not being all that well known, to the end of that 6-year run of having worked with Night Ranger and TSO and having done all these TV appearances and met all the celebrities and all the people from the bands whose music was in that show, you know, to being in the movie a bit. And, you know, I mean, it was really a good impact on my life, despite the fact I never necessarily thought someday I want to be on Broadway. And the other thing would be Cher, because you know, same thing. I was never thinking someday, you know, but at the end of the day, like, what a great opportunity to get out and play big shows for you know, this iconic figure. And so, you know, I mean, that's stuff that you can't see that coming. So I just work hard, and then you never know what life is going to present.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of music are you listening to right now or nowadays? I mean, is it still rock?
I almost never listen to anything. I just, it's always what I'm working on. Like, right, you know, every day I pretty much will end up playing guitar. Like today I have to You know, I've already practiced my stuff with Brandon for about an hour and a half. I've got about another hour or something to practice on that after we're off. I'm going to teach 4 guitar lessons, and then after that, I'm going to write the content for the master class that I'm doing on Monday. Kind of get that in. So by the time I'm done, you know, most days I've been with my guitar in one way or another 6-8 hours, and it just I never feel like listening to music at the end of that, to be honest. So I do more like work with music than I do like designated listening time. Sad in a way, but people are always disappointed when they hear that, you know, but that's just the way my life is. That's the way I work, at least, you know.
Okay. Yeah. And so what would you say to young musicians who are now starting their first bands or playing their first songs on their first shitty guitar? You know, what would you recommend them, or what would you, you know, tell them?
Just work hard. You get back what you put into it. And that comes down to like a daily approach more than it does like saying, like, here's what I want to do this month. It comes down to like, what are you going to do today? There should be something every day. You know, very, very rarely do I take any kind of a day off where there's like, I didn't do anything. And that includes things like this, because this is still benefiting my career to do an interview with you and still share my views and expand my digital footprint or whatever, you know, have people know who I am, my digital presence. And so, you know, everything's important, but you know, the idea being that you just try and fill your schedule and work and do more than talk about doing. You know, don't talk about doing, just do it.
Great. That's a great ending, I would say. Wow.
Slogan, right? Just do it. Right?
Yeah, perfect. It sounds great. You could, you know, make it like a motto somewhere. You know, just don't talk about doing, just do it. Sounds great. Okay, perfect, man. Thank you so much. I think our time is almost over, so thanks a lot for the interview. It was amazing to meet you here. And if I could ask you, could you just say something to the fans or listeners, or, you know, the people who will watch us on that Rebel TV or Backstage TV? Gonna check with that.
Well, you know, thank you for letting me live my dream, helping me live my dream. You know, if you've whether you've streamed a song or bought an album or come to a concert or just written me a nice inbox or something like that, everything is nice to, you know, have the support and be able to do what I set out to do when I was 11 years old. It's kind of amazing, you know. Not everybody gets to do that in life, so I don't take it for granted, and I'm glad I get to do it. It means something to me, so thank you.
Brilliant. Man, again, that's another great ending. So thank you very much for the interview. Have a great day. Take care. And hopefully we'll see each other when you'll be here in Europe. Whatever, you know, it's going to be Whitesnake or TSO.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Well, I think Brandon and I are going to have a European run later in the year. So if nothing else, maybe an acoustic show. But that's actually cool because it gives us more of a chance to hang and say hello. You know, those are smaller. So
okay, no problem.
We have an opportunity to hang out a bit. Yeah.
I'm watching you. So thank you so much again. Bye-bye, and have a great rest of the day.
Bye.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother. You too.
Cheers.
Okay.
Bye.